All righty, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. And yes, we got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to cover, a lot of things to analyze and talk about. And to do that today, I've got my great, awesome friend, Phoenix Knight, joining me today. So, Phoenix, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. And I want to hear your insight on a lot of these subjects we want to talk about.
I'm glad to help out where I can. It's my good deed for the millennium, after all.
You're one good thing you've done ever since I met you. Thank you. I do appreciate it. So, I guess without further ado, we should talk about the elephant in the room and talk about why why you're all seeing Phoenix Knight here and not seeing Ruff and Nate here. In case you are not in the know and you haven't been looking at the Facebook posts and you don't know what's going on, I am sorry to say that Nate and Rough Swordsman have both decided this week to leave the War Room show for good. Um, there was a lot of things going on in the back end that I won't get into at this point, but it's kind of come to a conclusion what was going on, and it's been kind of coming to a head for a little while. And so without further ado, Nate and Ruff have decided to leave the show, and I will be the first one to say I had a great time with Nate and Ruff, and I will always appreciate their time and effort in the show, and they did an awesome job. I know you guys love Nate, and I know you guys love Rough Swordsman, and I wish those two guys nothing but the best. And I hope, and I really say this with my honest inside, I hope those two decide to do a show together because they don't need me. They don't need me to do a show, and they would be really good together to do a show. So I have no hard ill will towards those two. They decided to leave the show, which is fine. It's their choice. Obviously, I'm not the easiest person in the world to get along with. I know Rough Swordsman has been putting up with me for over 5 years now. And so it's as we talked about when Tony was here and Ruff, it's you get to be like a family, right? And we all know what it's like as a family, right? You argue with your brothers and your sisters and you hate one another, but you also love one another. And that's kind of the feeling I think Nate and Ruff have for me and I have for them is we love one another, but we also decide that we probably shouldn't live together anymore. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I know I'm not the easiest person to deal with. I am always the skeptic. I am always the troublemaker. I am always the loudmouth. I am always the one saying the bad things. So I'm kind of the odd man out. And probably through the years, those things have probably come to a head and worked against us staying together. So what does that mean for the War Room show going forward? What does it mean for myself going forward? What does that mean for Nate and Dean? I don't know what those two are going to do. I know Nate is working on his doctorate, right? Doctorate? I think it's his doctorate.
Yeah, I think so.
He's working on his doctorate, his PhD, and he's got a lot of work to do with that. So, will he, be around? And hopefully he will be around. And like I said, hopefully he will continue doing things with. I know he did a live stream with Tony this week, and they played games together. So, what Dean, what Ruff and Nate do is out of my control at this point. Do they want to come back to the show? Do they want to take some time away and then maybe come back after a while? I don't know. You'll have to talk to them. All I know is there was a breakup this week, and unfortunately, it just happened, and it was probably, to be honest, for the good. Again, when you live with somebody, a brother or sister, or a husband, or wife, after a year, 2 years, 3 years, you get to the point where you don't appreciate one another anymore. You don't see eye to eye anymore, and every little differences sticks out a little bit too much. So going forward, what the show is going to be like is unknown, but we're going to try new things today. We got new segments we want to talk about. We got a lot of things that I've always thought about doing with the show and never had a chance to do it with the format that was there beforehand. So, um, anyways, I wanted to get that out ahead of time to let people know what was going on in case you are not familiar with what was going on. Um, it's I have no ill will towards Nate or Ruff, and again, these two are a perfect pair, and I really think that these two should start a show together whenever it's convenient for them, and maybe do a show together. And again, they don't need me. I was kind of the oddball out with those two because I was always, again, you have to have you got to have one guy that's the instigator, right? The troublemaker, the driving force behind the show. That's kind of me, right? So that's kind of what I do, and always, bringing up the conflict. People like watching, believe it or not, people like watching conflict, right? So I don't do it a lot on purpose, but it's just my nature, right? And I know I'm not the easiest person to get along with. So they've decided to take their skills elsewhere, which is fine. And I hope they do great. I hope they have a great time. So, anywho, that's that. You'll have to ask them what they plan on doing. I would hope you guys contact them, Dean and Nate, and tell them that you would love to have a show with them. And Jester would support that 100%. I really do. Jester's rants are the best. That's kind of what I'm known for. I'm the yelly, screamy guy on the internet, right? I'm the yelly, screamy guy because things bother me. A lot of people, it doesn't ravel people up, but a lot of things like putting a dice in a game gets me. It does. Phoenix, when you open a box and you see a dice, it doesn't bother you, does it?
Not particularly. And the thing is, with putting the dice in the box, if the game maker says you need this whatever dice to play the game, the dice damn well better be in the box as far as I'm concerned.
That's I had Phoenix. Well, I had Phoenix come on for several reasons. Number one, I had a vision of having someone come on that has a different perspective than me, that thinks differently than me. And I'm kind of what I would consider like the old time war gamer. And Phoenix, I would consider you the new time war gamer, right?
Well, considering I only got into the war game part of the hobby probably around 2022, 3-ish. Because I remember it was during
like 2 or 3 years now. So
yeah, I remember it was during a December that I picked up some of my initial war games into my collection.
So I figured having Phoenix come on to give his own take and his own perspective on things, being a new wargamer compared to someone that's been around the wargaming for 20, 30 years, playing hundreds of different games. How many different war games have you probably played in the last 3 years?
I would say I've probably played about, I would say probably 40 or 50 different war games, which is definitely a drop in the bucket compared to what you've played.
40, 50 is a pretty good number, though. 40 or 50 is not a bad number at all. That's pretty decent. That's especially for just a couple years in. That's really good. Excellent.
Well,
So,
there's also
anyways, I want to say hi to the chat and say hello to everyone. I've been kind of ignoring the chat because I don't want the chat to skew what I had wanted to say about Dean and Ruff and let everyone know about what was going on. And I didn't want to see the chat saying things that may or may not influence what I had to say. So I haven't really even looked at the chat, to be honest, because, like I said, I didn't want it to influence me. Now, with all that said, again, if you're just joining us, um, Ruff and Nate has decided to leave the War Room Show effective immediately. I wish them nothing but the best of luck. I feel like they're brothers to me, brothers that just I don't get along with anymore, which is fine. And I'm like 60-year-old. I'm the old man, right? And I find myself being grumpy and old. What is that grumpy old man movie or whatever it's called?
something like that. You're also
Yeah.
you're kind of the grouchy old get off my yard kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of like the old grouchy, get off my yard kind of guy, and I know I'm very difficult to live with. But on the other side, I will announce something brand new. I am a grandpa.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Congratulations on
yes.
that.
My daughter had the baby, which we talked about a while ago. My daughter had the baby on Thursday. Ethan William Peterson is in the world. He is now 3 days old. So I am officially a grandpa now. How about that? Who would have thought? Right?
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So because of that, and we had talked about this. Next week we're going to be flying up to Indiana to visit my new grandson, and now I can officially say that it's a grandson. And so there will be no show next week for myself. So I will be in Indiana visiting my daughter and the new grandson. So congratulations. Thank you, Grandpa. Exactly. So thanks everyone. I appreciate it. It's awesome, awesome news. My first grandson. I've got pictures, but I'm not allowed to post anything yet because they haven't officially released. What is it? What is wrong with kids nowadays? It's like everything has to be done in like this big orchestrated moment. Like they have to have a revealing of the baby gender, and you have to have a big orchestrated Facebook post with baby pictures. We're not allowed to show that until that happens. So unfortunately, I cannot share baby pictures yet.
Well, seeing as I'm never going to be a parent, I don't really have an opinion on that matter.
you don't care. Could you, you're mid 40s, right?
I actually just turned 40 probably about a week and a half ago.
Oh, it's just your birthday. Oh, that's right. It was your birthday. We were gonna say happy birthday today, but that got you. There's somebody else that has the same birthday as you, isn't there?
There is somebody who actually has the same birthday, and I was playing a game based on one of his works on our shared birthday.
Which happens to be who?
H.P. Lovecraft and I have the same birthday.
H.P. Lovecraft, which is kind of your guy, isn't he?
Well, I guess I would say he's kind of my guy, especially since it was really the Cthulhu mythos that I got into when I first got into tabletop gaming way back in 2019.
Right. So I'm going to just put the chat up there now so I can actually see the chat. And look, now that we got two people, I can actually put the chat in there, and it still looks pretty good, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Doesn't look too bad. So congratulations to me. I'm going to be a grandpa. You're not to the step yet. We have your children and grandchildren and stuff like that. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, I tell you. It's I'll talk about it when I get back in 2 weeks time, or 2 weeks time from today. and talk about it when I get a chance to meet the little sucker. But he looks so cute and adorable. But yeah, it's so funny these kids nowadays. They want to make this, everything's got to be like a big production, and you can't post videos or pictures until they've released the information. And oh my god, it's like it's driving me crazy.
No, it's. I guess the one thing I will say about that, though, is it should be the parent's perspective when that goes out, as far as I'm concerned. But again, I will kind of swallow my further remarks on that.
Right, right. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hopefully, going forward, we'll continue to have the show every week, and obviously next week there will be no show. And I appreciate Phoenix coming out today. We got the holiday weekend this weekend, so it is what is it, Labor Day, right? Yes,
Yeah,
it's
Labor
Labor Day. And so we got I got Monday off. You got Monday off?
I do have Monday
You
off.
do have Monday off. So most people, I think, in the U.S. have Monday off, being the holiday. So my question for everyone in the chat and for Phoenix is going into a holiday weekend, and you knowing you got, instead of a 2-day weekend, you got a 3-day weekend or maybe a 4-day weekend. You know, if you take off Friday or work half a day on Friday, knowing that, like, do you change your or adjust your gaming, knowing that, hey, I got an extra day to play, I got an extra 6, 8, 10 hours of gaming that I can be doing? Does that change what game you play, how often you play, how much you're going to play? Does that come into play at all with everyone? So Phoenix, we'll start with you. What, knowing that Labor Day weekend was coming up, did you arrange your schedule so that you would have more things to do, knowing you had Monday off?
I did do a little bit of arranging with my schedule. I guess for me, the holiday question kind of depends on what point of the year we're looking at. So, and what kind and what project and if I'm involved in a project of some kind. For instance, you guys might, if in the wargame community, I know you know Jester, but I'm in the middle of a hockey season replay. The scheduling kind of worked out where I'm going to be playing more games in the, well, actually, I'm not going to be necessarily playing more games. I'm going to be playing a similar number of what I was going to be playing, but what I'm going to be doing with it is it changed the schedule out a little bit because of the timing of how the project's scheduled out. So,
Okay.
so I think, like I said, for me, it a little more depends on the project and the point of the year that we're at.
And getting that stuff arranged at the right time. It depends on the time of the year. I know you take off most of December as well. So
Yep.
all right, so let's assume you take a December off again and you've taken those weeks off. Is that going to change what games and how many games you're going to be able to play because you got all that extra time?
It does change a little bit of that, and I'm actually getting ready. I'm actually mapping out the schedule right now for this year's Admin to the Phoenix, aka my December content explosion. Say it in English one of these days.
Right, right. Is Jester's Jeopardy coming back? That's a great question. That is a possibility, actually. We're going to try a few things. The first thing, and to be honest, I'm going to tell you guys a few things, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you want to be honest with me, great. Is when I first started this show with Rough Swordsman, and we were doing it every week, and it was just me and Rough Swordsman. It was a 2-man show like it is today, and we had a great time. And somehow, and I don't even know how this even possible, I think we had Tony on, and then we decided to have Tony back, and then we decided to have Tony back, and before you know it, our 2-man show became a 3-man show. And ever since Tony was on there, and then Tony left, obviously, and Nate came aboard, and then it was still a 3-man show. I have always wished it to go back to a 2-man show because I think as a 2-man show, you have much more direct banter back and forth than like a round table type thing. So, just in my thought and opinion going forward for the War Room show, what I'm thinking about doing is having myself host every week and then having a special guest that is going to rotate every week. So instead of having two normal hosts, we're going to have one host and then we're going to have like a rotating co-host spot. So one week will be Phoenix Knight, the next week will be Blue Tweezers, the next week after that will be Nerd Workshop, then the week after that might be Herman Lutman, the week after that might be Meandering Mike, and so it's constantly changing and getting new people, new ideas, new thoughts, new everything onto the show by just rotating people coming in all the time. So that's just in my ballpark what I am thinking about at this point. Trying to find two more co-hosts that are going to be full-time co-hosts is just not going to be a reasonable thing to look for. I can't imagine that there's going to be two other people out there in the world that have put up with me. So I think the best thing for myself going forward is getting a random person to kind of co-host every week, a new random person every week. That would be what I would like to do. And I would love to hear what your thoughts about that would be. Is that something that would be interesting for you guys? Do you not like that idea? Would you rather see three people? What do you think, Phoenix?
I could kind of see both sides on that, where on the one hand, yes, getting the roundtable going again could be an interesting thing just to hear the interplay of ideas between all three of you. But on the same token, it can be a nightmare getting everybody to coordinate their segments, time everything out, and all of that. Whereas if you have the rotating co-host, like we were talking about in the green room before we went live, you get those fresh perspectives because, like we said repeatedly, everybody's going to look at the wargaming experience or just life in general exactly the same way. They're not going to look at it in a different way, I should say. So you're getting different mindsets, different experiences, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, my main thought, right, is there's a lot of people in the chat. Meandering Mike, Christopher, Herman, a lot of people that have been coming to this show for years and years and years. And hearing the same, I'm going to say, even myself, but when you talk about Nate and Dean, Nate and Ruff and myself, we kind of all have the same views about, like when I talk about Atlantic Chase, I don't like Atlantic Chase. I talk bad about Atlantic Chase. Nate and Ruff loved Atlantic Chase and they talk positive about it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, people have heard that comment for years and years and years. Like everyone that's in the chat knows it's now a joke. Like I don't like Atlantic Chase. Those two like Atlantic Chase. So every time it's brought up, it's kind of a joke, which is fine. And everyone laughs and has a good time about it. But eventually the joke kind of wears off. Like people get bored of hearing the same joke over and over and over again. So like getting new people out here, because I have no idea if Meandering Mike likes Atlantic Chase or not. Like that would be a new take on it. Like I would like to hear what new and other people have to say instead of hearing the same old thing every week. Yeah. Is what I'm thinking going forward in my head. Like I have my take on it, and Ruff had his take, and Nate had his take, and we've always had the same, like we always said the same things. And it's kind of the point now where it's like we need to get, in my opinion, some new faces. And again, having three co-hosts for the War Room show, like if I was to say, oh yeah, I'm looking for two new co-hosts, it's going to be super hard to find two people that are going to be willing to come on the show every week to stick around. You know how hard it is to schedule things, Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
And to stick to, I mean, every once in a while you have to change your schedule, and instead of on Tuesday, I'm going to do this on Wednesday. But if you can't do that because everyone's relying on you to be here at 4 o'clock on a Saturday, Phoenix, you have to be here every Saturday. You can't take a Saturday off, like, once in a while. But I mean, you can't be like, oh, I just don't feel like doing it today. I'll
Right.
do it tomorrow. There's a lot of commitment to it.
Yeah.
So you like the medley, but the beat is not dance friendly. See, that's kind of what I was thinking about Atlantic Chase. I mean, it's got a good idea. I just didn't like the. Did you ever play well, let's try with you. Have you ever played Atlantic Chase?
I did play Atlantic Chase a couple times on the channel, and I don't know if it's just me being a newer war gamer or Atlantic Chase being so different from everything else, but I kind of bounced off of Atlantic Chase. And I don't know if it was just the very high level of it, because I'm not the biggest fan of the high level operational level games in the world, or just the fog of war system being so different from everything that I've gone through in the war game space.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just reading your guys' comments, and I appreciate some honest feedback from you guys going forward. If no one shows up to the show, we just won't have the show. So like, we have to make the show interesting and entertaining, and we want people to show up for the show. And if we can make it interesting and entertaining and people show up, then the show will continue. Because people keep asking me, well, is the show going to keep going? The show will keep going as long as we're able to keep people entertained and people keep showing up.
Yep.
I know with college football is huge in the US. Like we're probably going to lose like half the people, because I'm going to lose like half the people right off the bat, because half the people hate me and they like Nate and Dean. This is the reality. There's a lot of people that I know personally do not like me because of my attitude, because of things I say or whatever, and they wish I would just go away, right? So I know like half the people are going to go away because they don't like me, which is fine. And then when I'm going to lose like another chunk of people because of the college football season being here, which is, again, to be it's to be expected, but as long as people keep coming back and interested in the show. And so right now is your guys, the chat. It's your greatest opportunity to give your opinion on what the direction of the show should be. Should we focus in on like one subject and talk about one subject and only one subject? Should we be more broad in what we're talking about? Should I have 2 co-hosts? Should I have 3 co-hosts? Should I have 1 co-host and just me sitting here talking? Now is your chance to kind of let me know what works and what doesn't work with you guys. What will make you come back and keep coming back next week, couple weeks, every other, keep coming back forward. Like if I have a new person to talk with every week and you're getting someone new and different every single week, is that going to would you rather have someone would you rather have me and Phoenix host the show for 3 weeks or 3 months in a row? Like if it was just me and Phoenix, would that be good enough? Or would you rather have me, myself, and Phoenix one week and somebody else the next week? So now is obviously you can't make it the perfect show. Like, I can't, I'm going to listen to what people have to say. I'm looking at what they have to say. And I will try to make my best to do what people would like, but I can't guarantee that that's going to be how it's going to turn out.
And that's the thing you got to realize with anything where you're seeking feedback. You're never going to make everybody happy with with anything you're changing. But you guys in the chat, like Jester's saying, if you really want to impact the show moving forward, now's the time, because there's going to be a lot of experimenting going on in the next however many weeks, months, however long it's going to be before the new format settles in.
Right. Yes. And I like how Corey said the three of us worked really well. But as long as it's 2 hours of enjoyment, and you'll keep coming back. So 2 hours of enjoyment. So it's obviously up to us as hosts then to make it entertaining for you, and to try and make it to give feedback. So I wanted to start a new segment. I am not regularly watching the show live, but I like the three of different perspectives and their opinions. That said, I would like to see what this is going to be. Okay. So what I'm looking for is, as we talked about in the beginning, myself, I've been in wargaming for 20, 30 years, and I've played hundreds of different war games. And Phoenix is very new. He's only been doing it for a couple of years. And what we wanted to have is an old versus new segment where people in the chat ask a question, and I give my perspective as a 30-year vet, and Phoenix gives his perspective as a 3-year vet. And we can see how things are the same or different based upon how many years of experience we have. So if anyone in the chat has a question that they think would be a good question to ask somebody, please post it in the comments, and we will talk about that and see. I can see the value of rotating guest slot. Now the chance to experiment with different formats and see that's all we're trying to do. Me and Phoenix, and God bless him, he's worked his ass off this week. We've emailed back and forth different ideas and different suggestions, and we got a few things we're going to try. And poor guy, I put him under the ringer. I'm like, I need you to do this. I need you to try this. And he's just been like, yes, sir, I'll try my best. And so I really appreciate you sticking your neck out for the big trial run, really, to be honest.
Well, being a guinea pig is nothing new to yours truly. Just as long as I don't get my neck chopped off at the end of this.
You will not get your neck checked off. That's for sure. All right. So old versus young sounds interesting. Myself, I've been playing war games since 1977. I seem to be one end of the spectrum.
Oh, you've been playing war games longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, me too. I mean, to be honest, what was, so I will start, if anyone again in the chat can think of a good question for old versus new, please put just question and then dash and then put your question in there, and then I will be sure to not miss it. I'll try not to miss it. So what was your first kind of forte into wargaming? What game did you get into first? Did you play like something like Risk or something very basic war game, or did you jump full one in?
I had played Risk back when I was younger, but since I kind of jumped into the hobby space more and more, especially with going solo in my gaming, I kind of started with some book games. Actually, I started with a couple of book games from Worthington Games called On to Moscow and Bismarck Solitaire, which were two of the games on my list from 2023, I think. I didn't mind them, but I think they might have been I think they were a bit simplistic. And I initially was turned off from book games, funnily enough, because the thing that bothered me about those two in particular was, say I play all the way through it and end up liking them. Suddenly, if I want to play through them again, now I've got to buy another copy of the game if I want to go through it again. But my opinion actually changed on book games when I got into the Historic Wings games, because it's a different way of looking at the book game, where instead of writing in the book, you're actually keeping a separate logbook. So I definitely warmed up to book games, at least in that style. And Meandering Mike, as far as Mystical Munchies for everybody, I'm not going to play spoiler on it, but I don't think you guys are going to want this week's Mystical Munchies.
Oh, what was it? What was the
This week was the drink out of the recipes
With
from
the
the World
drink, yes, I remember it's the
Lovecraft
drink.
cookbook. The recipe was called the Gibbous Moon, where it was basically a lemonade recipe, but I ended up making limeade, and it didn't turn out the way I was hoping it would.
But you're not a heavy drinker, anyways. You're very casual, light drinker.
If that, every recipe I make on Mystical Munchies, unless there's a reason for it, I try to make it non-alcoholic if possible.
Yeah. I'm surprised you do the drinks then, being you get more variety with missing the drinks and just keeping more food going forward.
Well,
I know everyone loves that Mystical Munchies, and so and let's be honest, Phoenix, okay? As much as everyone hates me and I'm a jerk, who helped you name Mystical Munchies?
To be fair, you did, and
right. That's right.
Idea,
I did.
The original idea you had was Mythos Munchies for it, and I think I would have been warmer to the idea if I was only cooking out of Lovecraftian cookbooks. But because I knew I wanted to cook out of other cookbooks, that's where I came up with the name. I think another name I was throwing around was Mythical Munchies, but I ended up not going with that because I'd heard some bad things about that. So that's where Mystical Munchies came from. That, and in Arkham Horror, the card game, my favorite class is the Mystic.
Right. Yeah, I think it worked out. I think everyone likes the title and the name, and you get a lot of views. You get a lot of comments about it and stuff, and it's kind of like a staple on your channel now.
Yeah,
which is nice. I mean, it's kind of everyone knows I'm the yelly, screamy guy, right? So everyone knows you're the Mystical Munchie guy, right? So I mean, everyone's got a thing. Like you got to be known for a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm the yelly, screamy guy. You're the Mystical Munchie guy. So yeah, at least you're known for something. It's better to be known for something than not known at all, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Right? I only drink alcohol after 2,200 hours unless I'm at a party. Yeah. I'm not a big drinker either. So, I mean, the wife will be coming in every Saturday after I get after the show. She's got a drink or, a glass of wine. And she's like, you want one? I'm like, no, not really. I mean, every once in a while I'll say yes, but yeah.
You really got to be in the mood for alcohol in a lot of cases.
Yeah. So again, if anyone has a question for myself and Phoenix about wargaming, obviously, put it in the chat, and we'll have old versus new, where we talk about what the old person thinks about the game and what the new person thinks about it, or whatever. Have you got anything? I know you got something new because I just got it myself. Where is it? It's around here somewhere.
Somewhere in that pile of games. That's
somewhere in the pile of games, and I can't find it. It's around here somewhere. Gosh darn it!
Well,
the end to a series called.
You're probably thinking of this. Yeah. If I can ever get a hold of it.
There it is.
Which, of course, is flipped in my camera, but it's.
Yeah. Why is your camera backwards?
I have no idea.
Let me fix that. I think it's oops, wrong one. Hang on. There we go.
Okay, let's try this again.
There we go. Sorry.
Space Empire's All Good Things, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, so that's a monster. Holy crap! What the heck? It is like as big as the first 3 games combined, I think.
Probably. And speaking of new games, I actually just got a brand new delivery in earlier this afternoon. I was watching before the show came up, and I saw the mail carrier park in front of the apartment, and I'm looking at her. I'm looking at this. I'm like, wait, what is she doing? Because I had another delivery I'm expecting, but I haven't seen shipping about it. So I got this delivery in, and I looked at the return label, and I'm like, this isn't that delivery that I'm expecting, but it is from Compass Games that I'll go ahead and crack right here on the channel.
Absolutely. We got a live unboxing. These are always great.
You'll also probably get to listen to me cuss and swear with this priority mailer because I do not like these priority mailers.
We'll talk about this question here in a minute. Let's go ahead and
I'm going to close this knife because I'm going to end up stabbing myself with it if I don't.
if you guys have played Space Empires and in the chat and you've got the expansion, let me know what you think of that expansion. I would love to hear what everyone's thinking about it, because man, I just thought, wow, it's like a 4-inch box. It's crazy how big it is. Heavy is it's heavy. It's heavy too.
It is definitely heavy. Probably about a 4-inch box. But actually, this just came in from Compass Games. It's a new Kickstarter that came out for British Tank Ace. It's Gregory Smith's newest design.
Nice.
If you have American Tank Ace, this is basically the British version of that, and I will be doing a deep unboxing on that at some point on the channel. And no, we're not going to have severed arteries on the channel meandering, Mike. That's why I closed the blade of the pocket knife, so we didn't have that happen.
We don't need that. We don't need that at all. You played Space Empires a few times on your channel. I know you have. I've watched them.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of the game? I think it's a really interesting game.
It is a really interesting game, and I would consider teaching it to my game group if I thought they actually played war games, and that's part of why I've basically made sure all my war games are solo experiences. In fact, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I've actually trained up an engine for board game recommendations on ChatGPT, and one thing I've programmed into that is for war games, solo mode is a hard requirement. If I feed a game in and it doesn't turn out to have a solo mode, it's going to spit it back out as an auto fail.
Right. I know you play most of your war games are pretty much exclusively solitaire.
Yep.
You don't play your game. I know you got a gaming group and you do a lot of things with your gaming group, but they're not the war gaming kind of. They're not into war gaming.
No.
So what games do you think you could introduce them to that they might actually? This might be a great question to ask. What game do you think you currently own that you could take to your buddies and say, hey, let's sit down and try this one out? And they would be, pretty good with it. They would enjoy it.
I think one game that I've tried to introduce to them, but we can't get the numbers to work for it, is actually out of the Undaunted series. So I'm thinking maybe I could, because our group likes a lot of sci-fi games. So I'm thinking if I show them Undaunted 2200 Callisto, maybe we could sit down and play that. But the problem with that game is we would actually need an even number to be able to play that, because it plays at 1, 2, or 4. And what you do with 4 is you essentially are 2 teams of 2 with the opposing factions that you've got in there. So maybe that could be something that I might be able to take to the group.
Old versus new, Space Empires 4X or Stellar Conquest. Pick your poison. Old versus new. I'm going to say Space Empires.
I'm gonna say Space Empires as well, only because I've never heard of Stellar Conquest. Let's see if I can find it here on the Geek. Oh wow, 1975 game. I'm willing to bet this is not gonna have a solo mode to it.
Well, true. That's true. But back in 1975, I don't even know that they knew what solitaire gaming was at that point.
Fair. There was an old versus new question earlier in chat too.
Yeah, I was trying to go back to that, but I think it's let me see another old versus new question. I thought that would be a good segment for people to ask, and we would be able to give our opinions about things and compare it.
Looks like it was from Ivs back at 342 about if we were going to mix video and cardboard war games.
Yes. So I guess he's talking about like digital versus, and this is a great question because as I was off doing other things and not playing war games, and I was coming back into work, playing games, I found it a lot easier for myself to play digitally. I played a lot of, this last week I played 10 games this last week, And I played a lot of them on Board Game Arena because I'm just used to doing the thing digitally as opposed to cardboard. Um, and I think that's a great question because I love both of them, but I think the more I play digitally, the more I enjoy digital. Then, and I know you're the exact opposite, Phoenix, aren't you?
Mm, I kind of go back and forth, and a lot of it depends on, again, if I've got a project in the game room. But I generally prefer having the tactile feel of the cards and dice, being able to move everything around the map, and just having that feel of everything in my hands. But I do use TTS on occasion for games, especially anything bigger, and when I've got a project otherwise occupying my table.
Yeah. It does make setup easier. The digital does make setup a little bit easier. It also makes tearing the game down a little bit easier as well. We know that.
Yep.
I Being newer to the game though, does that make you want to have it in front of you and touch it and feel it? Because I've been touching and feeling them for a long time, so I don't feel the need to do that. It's being newer. Does that make you want to feel it and touch it and see it on the table?
Mm, yes and no, I would say, because I do get the feel of that even when I'm playing in something like, well, some of the feel for that in TTS. Obviously, it's not physical when I'm playing in TTS, but on the same token, yeah, there's something to be said for actually being able to manipulate everything in real time and actually physically get a hold of everything.
Yeah. Uh, we got another question here from Coy. Now, what I would just um, say to you guys, if you're asking a question, is to keep in mind that Phoenix Knight is newer and he hasn't experienced, a whole bunch of gameplay. And so he hasn't played it's hard for Phoenix to compare games because he hasn't played a lot of the different games. So just keep that in mind when you're asking the questions, which is better. Um, yeah, I don't think you've played either one of these, have you?
Nope,
No.
I have
Okay.
not.
So I mean, just think about, Phoenix being a newer, you're going to have to ask more just general questions about things. Here's what I would say something like this: strategic games versus tactical games. Which would
Strategic.
you rather?
Let me just make sure I've got this straight first, so we're speaking the same language. Strategic is kind of the 10,000-foot view where you're moving essentially pieces around the map. Tactical is more like you're in the tank, you're in the ship, whatever.
Yes.
You're actually
Yeah,
making things happen.
exactly.
Definitely tactical games in that case. I, I don't know. I think being a guild leader in World of Warcraft for about a cup of coffee that I was kind of burned me out on trying to make things happen and at the higher level. I would rather be kind of in the tank or in the plane, whatever, essentially making things happen on the battlefield, focusing more on the details of the battle.
Hmm. Uh okay. But you've played both. You find it more interesting to be in the driver's seat or in the cockpit or whatever.
Yes,
Feel like you're more engaged in it that way than being the overall general and commanding the troops to do certain things.
to me at least, and we've talked about, I'm big into narrative and kind of the game telling a story. I feel more of a connection to that story when I'm actually in the driver's seat again, when I'm the ship pilot, the ship captain, or the pilot, whatever. I don't really get that feeling from being at the 10,000-foot view of essentially moving the pieces around the map and somebody else is making things happen on the battlefield.
Right, right. It's obviously everyone has their own experiences and stuff. I being the old time player, I still enjoy the tactical more than I like the strategic, but that's just because that's what I grew up doing. That's kind of the kind of how what got me into wargaming and stuff like that. So it's kind of my bread and butter, and I don't mind the strategic as much as I used to. I used to not like playing strategic at all. I never liked that moving a bunch of pieces around, just, spending a whole turn and moving just a couple pieces forward, a
Yeah.
couple boxes. Just didn't find it very interesting. But now that I've, older in life and I'm kind of more mellow now than I used to be, believe it or not. I am more mellow now than I used to be, that's for sure. I do find it interesting to take those grand plans, these grand strategies, and see what happens. Like Normandy 44, like that's a great example. Like it's a huge battle and it's got a lot of things going on, but I can get that game done in 4, 6, 10 hours, whatever. And I can feel like I was, making decisions that mattered in with the outcome of the game. So I don't mind the strategic games as much as I used to. More now that I've mellowed out a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
I do see a question from me in the chat about a favorite historical period that I have or any I really don't like. I've kind of settled into that World War II space in terms of the historical war games that I like to get into, just because there's so many out there, especially for the solitaire games, where there isn't as much in, say, the Napoleonic era or the Ancients era or the or even more modern stuff like post World War II, Korea, Vietnam, what have you. Although one period that I kind of have bounced off of a little bit, not that I've played necessarily anything around this time of history, but Vietnam is really a period in history where I've kind of bounced off of a little bit, just because there's so much of that top down going on in Vietnam that I don't really like, where you're essentially getting handcuffed from Washington, essentially, in Vietnam, where you're being told, hey, don't go bomb this target, where I'd rather tell them, go pound sand. If we need to do this to win the war, then we're going to go do this thing to win the war. I don't want to get into the political restrictions of dealing with Vietnam, where it's like, get out of my way, let me go do my job kind of thing.
Yeah. You do have that in a bunch of the strategic level games but you also have that. I know there's several games in World War II where you're talking about East Front, and you have to try to take the objectives that Hitler wants you to take, whether you want to go for those objectives or not. Like sometimes he'll make you go to Stalingrad, and sometimes he wants you to take Leningrad, and sometimes he wants you to take the Caucasus. So you can get that still in World War II with Hitler kind of dictating what his units are doing and what they should try to get. And I know some of the games in the East Front actually do that. And you guys can help me in the chat and name a few of them, because I know I'm trying to think of the name of it and I just can't. It's right at the tip of my tongue and I can't come up with the name right off the top of my head. But I'm sure you guys in the chat will be, you guys will be on that, no problem. I'm sure.
Maybe it's
operational level games. Yep, these are good for sure.
I was going to say, maybe it's not as pronounced in World War II that I don't really notice it too much in that world of games.
It's obviously when you have several other co-hosts, like when we had Ruff and we had Dean, everyone kind of has their own expertise, and Nate, being the ancients guy, could bring a lot of information about ancients and the time period and everything. So obviously we're going to miss that on the show. And again, hopefully they'll be able to continue on their own and create their own show and create a great following for them as well. Some vessel modules or your turn tracks, artillery tracks, card decks are hidden in other windows, end up being lost and forgotten about. So
talking more about the physical versus the electronic aspect of playing these games.
I mean that's a topic for a whole, like a whole subject, I think, because I know it's very divisive when you talk about digital, and some people don't like the digital because I don't know what you do, Phoenix, but I think you use a computer at work. And so when you come home, you don't like to be on the computer and doing things on the computer digitally, right?
Yeah, but you can't really avoid that, especially when I'm running everything on a laptop for streaming, and
Right,
even here at my desk. Obviously, I it's kind of hard to be on an internet show without a computer.
right, right. And I will say this: the more digital I play, the easier it gets to play, and the more you can actually get done.
Yeah,
Um, and yes, you miss the textile feel of things, but it does make things easier and gets you maybe to play something that,
that you
like,
might not
like
otherwise
for
do.
example, I'll give you an example. So I was going to set up um, Fields of Fire. I was going to set up Fields of Fire, and I got my box out, which happens to be right here. Right, so I got my box out, and I was going through and separating everything, and it took me like literally a half an hour to get everything and kind of organized it out on my table just so I could get it set up.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, it's already been a half an hour and it's going to take me like another hour to get it set up. And literally, I could go to Tabletop Simulator and I
You
could
set up in
download
5
a
minutes.
module and I can click on the module and I can get it loaded in like literally like 10 seconds. And I was like, do I waste the hour and a half just so I can get the textile feel? On it's I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. What do you think? I mean, obviously everyone's different, but
I think for me, it kind of depends. Again, if my the thing with me is I plan out my content, so I don't really feel this setup too much. I usually do my setup the night before when I know what I'm going to be playing. So I guess I don't mind setup because all I do is I just I put on like a podcast or some music or whatever, so I have something to listen to while I'm going through setup. I don't really mind it too much, to be honest.
hmm. It's yeah, Koi has the same question. Do people enjoy setting up a game? And um because he does, and that's great. And another great comment by Stuka is I think this is a super good one. I don't know why no one has developed a stabilization feature in Vassal. It's too choppy, and it needs to have a dice roll animation with dice roll effects, which would make it more interactive. And I totally 100% agree with Stuka on that. If it makes it more interactive for people and make it a little bit easier to view, it might be more mainstream. I think that's why a lot of people are going over to TTS from Vassal.
Because you can actually see the dice rolls
You
on
can
it.
actually see things a little bit easier. You can zoom in and out on the table and see like the big map
Yeah.
a lot easier. Um, I think I think Vassal is super good, but it does have its limitations. That is for sure.
Yep.
I know he likes setting things up. So setting up things. Let's talk about setup. I've been saying this for years, and I know I'm on the big mouth, the yelly, the screaming guy, but I do not like setting things up. I feel like if I'm should be spending time playing the game, I shouldn't be spending time setting it up. I understand there is a process you need to go through to, okay, I've got to set this game up, whether it's a football game, okay, you got to get all the charts out, right? You got to get all the charts out. You got to get the team cards out. You got to get the football teams and the helmets. I understand there's a setup. It doesn't mean I enjoy it. What do you think, Phoenix?
I don't know if necessarily enjoy is the right word for it. Like I said, I don't mind setup. All I do is, like I said, just put on some tunes or something like that. But I think there are some comments where in chat where you can definitely learn a lot about about setting up a game. And I think you might have shown Stuka's comment about that already. And sometimes there's even parts of setup like like when I'm going through setting up a game. Sometimes there's some setup that I have to do on camera, whether, take something like Eldritch Horror, for instance, where there's a few steps of setup that I've got that have to be done on camera, where you have to show off the first items in the reserve, the first gate, the first monster, all of that stuff. So there's some of that has to come on camera naturally. But
yeah, I mean, this might be it. I just don't have, it's true. I don't have any patience. I'll be the first to admit I don't have any patience, but I don't do it because I don't have patience. I do it because, or I don't like to do it because if, as I've talked about for you guys here that have been around my channel for a long time, if I'm playing something, I normally 99% chance I'm going to be streaming it. Like, I want to be broadcasting it for you guys out there to see it. I don't play things and not stream it. I mean, like there isn't like a game that I'll play and then be like, oh yeah, I played this game and here's the picture of me playing it. No, if I'm playing a game, I'm going to be broadcasting it. So because of that, I am always thinking like, if I'm going to be playing this game, I should be broadcasting it out. So like, I'm not going to spend an hour and a half setting up a game and watching people watch me set up a game. Does that make sense?
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, I'm not saying that I have patience, because I don't. I don't have patience. I completely admit I don't have patience, but that's not the reason I don't enjoy setup. I don't enjoy setup because that's an hour or hour and a half that I'm not live streaming the game for you guys. Like, it's just, I would rather be doing something and going live and making it interactive. I find it much more interactive and much more interesting when I have people in the chat and they're posting in comments and, oh, don't do that, or, oh, don't forget rule 4.6 or whatever. I find it much more interactive and I might find it much more interesting. So when I'm doing setup, I'm not getting that interaction, if that makes sense.
And I'm usually a lot the same way, especially when if I'm setting up a game socially. I usually kind of go silent and really don't focus and really don't interact much with people when I'm doing setup, because I'm focused on, okay, I got to do this. We got to get to the next step of setup. So I'm very much, I don't know how I want to put this though. I'm not necessarily I don't necessarily it's, where do I want to go with this? I don't enjoy, like I said, I don't enjoy setup per se, but it's just something that needs to be done to play a game. And sometimes doing part of it on camera lets you get that first look at the units on the map or where the gates are. It's your initial look at, okay, where are the problems? Where do I need to go after?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I completely understand that. I really do. I see it when if I do set up a game and I'm like, oh, okay. So you get to see all the pieces. You get to see what's going on. You get to go, oh, this would be a great area to attack. They don't have very many defenders or whatever. Yeah. I can see that. And I find it wasted time. And I know it's not. I understand that. But for you guys, I would rather be live streaming the game and doing it, which makes it so, again, I play more digital stuff because I can get a couple clicks, boom, 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 and I'm up and running, and I'm good to go. And I don't have to spend half an hour setting it up and not live streaming. So it's mostly because I want to share it with you guys online and do it, and share with you guys that I don't like the setup part of it.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird. I know. So our subject, we're still going to have a subject for the show. I think again, if you're just joining us, it is 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're just joining us and you missed the first hour of the show, well, where the hell were you, first of all? Second of all, we have our good friend Phoenix Knight here today because Rough Swordsman and Nate Lanthram have decided to leave the War Room effective immediately. And so going forward, we're going to be having a different kind of show every Saturday. We're still going to have the show every Saturday. I still wish Nate and Ruff the best of luck. I loved my time with them. I'm glad we decided to separate, though, because I think they weren't having fun with me. I wasn't having fun with them. And I think the two of them should get together and come up with a show and come up with their own ideas. And I would 100% fully support that. And I love these guys, but I'm glad we decided to kind of separate when we did, because of the timing was good for us to do that. I think it just got to the point where it was a little bit too much of what was going on. Nobody was having any fun. And again, if we're not having fun, then why are we here, right?
Yeah.
So that's to catch you up with that. So we are going to continue doing new things. We have new segments. We're going to be going forward. We got I thought still having a main subject of, what is our subject, Phoenix?
I think our subject was games that we had problems with learning.
Games that we're having problems learning, and more importantly, why? Why did you have problems learning the game? And this might be helpful for, I'm sure there's maybe word game developers out there, or maybe game manufacturers that might watch this down the line and watch this and maybe take some information that we're giving them, and maybe we can make the industry better. So let's start with games that you had trouble learning and why. Phoenix, you're a pretty smart guy. You are a super smart guy. You played hundreds of different games. I'm sure there's no board game out there that you've ever had a trouble learning.
Uh-huh. Next, you're going to tell me the Pope and the Dalai Lama are having a torrid love affair in the Taj Mahal.
You never know. I'm just saying. So I'm assuming you have had trouble learning some games.
Yes, I have had some trouble learning games.
Okay. So for those who don't know, Phoenix, you play Euro games, you play sports games, you play war games, you play every kind of game. You're a gamer, right?
Yep.
So you've played every kind of game out there. So you've experienced the good and the bad from everything.
Mm-hmm.
So where would you rate your experience from 1 to 10? 10 being the worst experience you've ever had, and 1 being the best experience you've ever had. In your wargaming learning games, how would you rate it from 1 to 10 compared to sports and Euro gaming?
Compared to sports and Euro gaming, I think I'd probably call my experience learning war games probably about a
Again, 10 being the worst and 1 being the best.
I'd probably say about a 6 or a 7 with war games.
Okay. And how does that compare to Euro games and sports games? What would you say with Euro games, and what would you say with sports games if you were going to rank those?
With Euro games, I think I would say probably about a 3 or a 4, just because those seem to be a little bit more, I guess, in my traditional wheelhouse. And sports games, I'd probably say probably about a 5 or a 6, but there's 1 or 2 games in particular with sports games that's pulling that average up a little bit.
Okay.
You can probably guess what one of those games is.
So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just saying, it seems like from your ranking system, your most difficult experiences has been with wargaming.
Yeah, I would definitely say that my biggest trouble has been with war games.
Yes. And I'm not trying to put you down at all, because I 100% agree. If I was going to rank mine as well, and I didn't want to skew you, that's why I asked you these questions, right? If I've been playing game, for 35 years, and I also would rank my wargaming experience probably a 6 or 7. My Euro games, I would rank between 4 and 6, and my sports games probably between 3 and 6. So yes, I would say wargaming is the hardest. So we all, for good or bad, we've all determined that wargaming is the hardest to learn. So let's figure out why that is and figure out what we can do to make it better. That's why we're here, right? So, why? Why would you say? I mean, just, I mean, there's probably lots of reasons. We'll get into all the reasons, but why would you say wargaming is more difficult?
I think for me, at least, one of the main problems I have with learning war games is the more moving parts there are in a game, the more trouble I'm going to have with learning it. So if you've got to worry about, say, different terrain bonuses or what the different units are doing, and on top of all that, you've got, say, a deck of cards to give you a result or something like that. The more moving parts that there are to a game, the more problems that at least I'm going to have with learning the game. Now, as far as getting away from, as far as being able to kind of design that away.
Hang on. Let me ask, because I think this is important. You're saying that the more moving parts there are, the more difficult it is. Would you say that wargaming has more moving parts than other Euro games and sports games?
I think with maybe a handful of exceptions, I would say that wargaming probably has the most moving parts in, at least in my opinion, within the gaming experience that I've had, admittedly as limited as it's been.
Okay. No, again, I'm not arguing with you. I am totally agreeing with you. I just try not to sway you and make you, feel obligated to agree with me or anything like that. I want to hear what your honestly opinion is before I say you're right or wrong or whatever. I agree. I think one of the things that we can learn from this experience is wargaming, whether right or wrong, is the most difficult to learn because there is the most going on in the games in general. In general, we're talking general terms. Obviously, there's easier games and there's harder games, but in general wargaming terms, I think everyone can say when you compare Euro games and sports games and war games, wargaming is much more difficult. Okay, so we've pretty much have agreed. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone disagrees with me, you can hold your hand up and say, yeah, I disagree. I don't think it is, or you can agree with me. But I think we can all determine that wargaming is the most difficult because there's the most moving parts in the game with units and terrain and counters and special units and special rules and all that extra stuff that wargaming loves to throw in, right?
Yep.
So because it's more difficult, that doesn't mean we don't play the games and we don't enjoy them as much. They're just more difficult to learn. So what can we do to get over the hump and make them easier? Oh, let's start here. Let's back up. Why did we have difficulty learning the games? Let's figure out what the difficulty was, and then we'll try to figure out what we can do to make them better. Let's start there.
Just looking at the notes of some of my games that I've had problems with, a pretty common factor that I've had with a lot of these games is the rule book has been one of the bigger problems that I've had with some of these games, where if something's not clear and I'm spending 10 minutes looking for an answer on the Geek and I end up having the house rule instead, that's probably a game that I'm not going to like. I'm going to get frustrated with trying to learn it, and odds are it's going to go flying out of my collection.
And I am so glad that you said rulebook. I am so glad that you mentioned that, because that is unfortunately, my number one beef as well, is the rule booklets in wargaming. And they've done a masterful job of getting better, but they're still way behind when it comes to other games out there. And I mean, there's a lot to say about the rule booklets, but
And one thing I'll mention about rule books as well is it's such, for me at least, it's such an important category that when I was making my evaluation videos on my war game list for my 10 game challenge list for the last 2 years, it was actually a category important enough that I noted it in my scoring.
great. And how were you scoring them? Like below average or?
Well, the way I would score the category is basically how clear everything was. If I had a
Okay.
question, how easy was it to go find it in the rule book? And
Okay.
I'd obviously take points off the more I'd have to go for outside help, like the Geek or Google or something else in that line.
Okay. So, and if rule booklets are more difficult in Euro in wargaming compared to others, um, why do we think that? What makes it? What makes a war game rule booklet not as good as let's just say a Euros? What do you say the main difference between the rule booklets would be?
I think one problem I've had with some of these war game rule books on occasion is, to me at least, they don't seem to be organized very well. Where sometimes there's a rule that I need and I go looking for where I expect it to be, but it's in this completely different spot where I've got to go look for something else, but I've got to go look somewhere else, and it's just not in a lot. To me at least, war game rule books don't seem to be logically laid out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I would say my biggest gripe with rule booklets. Again, rule booklets last couple of years in wargaming are much better than they used to be, but they're still below average when it comes to like helping players learn. Is the fact that they don't have as many pictures with examples to show people. Like we're we learn by look by seeing by
Mhm.
doing we do by see, right? So when I
Yeah.
look at something, I can look at a book and I can see the example and I can say, oh, look, and this is the way it's supposed to be set up. Like 9 times out of 10 when you're looking at a Euro game, whatever that Euro game is, like on the first page or two, it shows you like a whole view of what it looks like when it's all set up and all the pieces are on the table and everything is where it's on the board and everything.
Yeah.
We don't have that in wargaming. Like there's no picture normally in wargaming showing you like, hey, this is what it looks like when it's all set up.
It's almost like you bookmark a war game rule book where you're like, oh my god, there's actually a picture of how everything looks when it's set up, or oh my god, here's a picture of an example of play when you're going through trying to learn the game. It tends to be more the exception than the rule in the war game space, where as it's the other way for Euro games.
Yeah. Yeah. I again, I think part of the problem is the fact that you're wargaming is it's got more pieces, it's got more things, it's got more things to do, it's got more things to show, it's got more pieces, it's got more rules, it's got
Yep.
more everything. And they don't I'm not going to say they don't.
They seldom get into the examples of play, like with the pictures that you've
Yeah,
got.
they don't spend as much time as they should showing people how to play the game. I guess is kind of the take that I'm getting with the rule book. It's just harder to. I mean, sure there's a text, there's a paragraph that tells you the rule, but it doesn't like show you what they mean by the rule because words are sometimes words and they're not the same as showing somebody. Like
I,
I can say this is green. Like now you all know what green is, right?
yep.
Or I could say to you, well, the color of the field is the same as what grass is in mid July in Ohio. Like, okay, the rules there, but now I've got to kind of interpret what they're saying instead of actually just showing me. Like when you show somebody, there's no like, hey, this is green. You can't go, well, I didn't know what green was. Well, how did you not know what green was? I just showed you what green was.
Well, I'll kind of play a counterpoint on that a little bit. If somebody's red-green colorblind, then they might have a problem with green just in that particular case. But yes, I know I'm putting it under a microscope a little bit.
Yeah, I'm giving you an example. I'm just saying, if you show people the rule and say this is what this is what zone of control is. Like if I'm here and you move up adjacent to me, then you have to stop. Like it should be explained to people with not only in text but in actual images that show people.
I think the catch-22 for the war game rule books, though, is if you start getting into pictures of everything, you're going to end up making the rule books a lot longer than they currently are. I think they're like 30. I think most of them tend to range around like between 30 and 50 pages, I think, where if you start getting into more pictures, more examples of play, then you're going to get longer rule books. The prices are probably going to end up going up. So it's kind of a catch-22.
It is a catch-22, but if we know wargaming has got more pieces and more parts and more rules, we should expect longer rule booklets, right?
Yeah.
It should just be like, I mean, most Euro games, and don't get me wrong, I love my Euro games, but most Euro games are like 6 to 8 to 10 pages maximum. Like that's it. Like 6, 8, 10 pages, they get all the rules done, right?
Yeah.
If a Euro game can do that in 6 or 8 or 10 pages, a war game should be able to do it in 20 or 30. It shouldn't need much more than that, should it?
You would hope not.
Right? I mean, if it was done right, it shouldn't take that much.
And I think it also depends on just how much is kind of crammed into the game, where if you're getting down to that more tactical level again, and you've got your zones of terrain or your zones of control or your different terrains or all of the different units, then the more detail, then yeah, you would expect a longer rule book out of that.
Yeah, wargame rule books tend to be written more like military regulations. I agree completely with Grunner Rich there.
Incredibly.
Some rule books assume a lot of knowledge. Some just use military terms with no explanations. I have no idea what a difference is in brigade and a division was. I am with you 100%. There is brigades. There is the other one. What's the other one? There's brigades and there is
division, corps.
Divisions, right? I know, but there's another one that begins with the B. There's brigades, and then there's another one that starts with
Are you thinking of?
Battalions. There's battalions and there's brigades, and I have no idea. Like, I've been playing war games for 30 years, and I don't know the difference between those two. I swear to God, I do not know that. And you would think a guy that's been playing this for 30 years, like, and this goes to what Jonathan was saying, like, war games expect you to know what a brigade is, but a lot of people like, what is a brigade? Phoenix, do you know what a brigade is?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, like we don't, like, unless you're in the military or been in the military. You weren't in the military, right?
No.
I was never in the military. I have no idea what a brigade is and what the difference between a brigade and a battalion, and they both begin with the letter B. And I know one is a higher level than the other. And yeah, I've been playing for 30 years. How do you expect a newbie like Phoenix to know what the difference between a brigade and a battalion is? And a lot of games use those terms interchangeably. And I couldn't even tell you what the difference is. So rule booklets is the first thing. What else? Let's move on. We've talked about rule booklets. We all know rule booklets. We're going to come back to rule booklets in a little bit. But let's move on, and we'll talk about what else in your notes made it difficult to learn war games besides rule booklets? I'm sure there was other things.
Mm, well, one other thing was just kind of not really being my level of game, and that more comes from kind of starting to explore the war games a little bit more and figuring out where my tastes actually go with that. Whether I like being whether I like being at the 10,000-foot view of being the general in charge of the army, or in the driver's seat of the plane or the ship or whatever. So some of that's just going to come from exploring in the war game space.
Yes. What about, did you find it hard to learn a game because you didn't get an example of play, or they didn't give you like an example of, like here's a turn or two or three? Did you find it hard to play the game because they just didn't explain what the hell you're supposed to be doing?
I kind of go back. This is another one. That's another one I kind of go back and forth on a little bit, where sometimes if you see a sequence of play, but you don't necessarily get an example, it's fairly intuitive. It can be fairly intuitive at times to be like, okay, here's how the turn goes. And it makes sense that everything seems to flow naturally. There are other times where I've not gotten an example of play, and I'm looking at a game going, what the hell am I supposed to do with this kind of nonsense? Usually those kind of games get shelved and end up getting traded away at some point.
YouTube videos essential to the wargaming community. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a good thing we've got a bunch of YouTubers in the community then who make videos for the wargame community, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's obviously, we've talked about that on the War Room, and talked about, like, hey, we're YouTubers, right? And we spend our time and effort putting out videos to show people how to play these games, but the manufacturer isn't doing it. The people that created the game isn't doing it. Why are we doing it? I mean, we do it for the love of the game, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know, lock and load, and yes, we still do the lock and load drink.
How did that come about anyway?
Because Tony used to say lock and load every 3 words out of his mouth was lock and load, lock and load, lock and load. And I finally, one day I got so fed up with it. I said, Tony, every time you say lock and load, I'm drinking. And that's how it started, because like literally he was saying it all the time. I know Lock and Load has hired a couple YouTubers out there to make videos to kind of show off some of their games and stuff. But I think in general terms, most game companies out there don't use the community. Jonathan, good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for stopping by.
Don't use the community at large to help. Obviously, they use them to promote their games, but they don't really use the community to show people how to play the games.
Yeah.
Which obviously we're a much smaller community. Like if I go and look at Gloomhaven, and I know Gloomhaven is one of the biggest games ever created, and it's probably a bad example, but I could go on the internet and type in Gloomhaven, and I could watch 7,000 videos of people teaching me how to play Gloomhaven. Like there's more videos on how to play Gloomhaven than there are days in the week. Like it's just so many. Like, but if I was to go and say, look at a game called, say, Great Battles of Julius Caesar, like how many videos are out there to show me how to play Great Battles of Julius Caesar? Now I know there's 1 or 2 that I've actually watched, but 1 or 2 versus 7,000, that's a big difference.
Oh yeah.
And just, if for whatever reason, the 1 or 2 people that have done the video, I don't like their accent, or I don't understand what they're saying. Their microphone's too far away. You can't hear them because they're too soft, whatever. I was watching a video today. I turned it on I was going to learn a game. And like literally I could barely hear what the person was saying. And I was like 10 seconds in the video, and I clicked,
Mm-hmm.
I clicked several spots in the video and it wasn't any better. I said, okay, bye. I can't learn from you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, it's frustrating for us that are trying to learn a game. There's several games that I would love to Bell of Reason. This is a very simple, easy complexity 2 out of 9, very easy game, right? And I thought, oh, I'm just going to sit down and learn how to play this. And I could probably watch somebody online. There's no video. There's not a single video on the internet of somebody teaching me how to play this game that
That's
I've
a fairly
seen.
new game too, though, isn't it?
Sure. I mean, came out like a month ago.
So there's
But I mean, I if I'm going to learn to play this game, I'm actually going to have to sit down and learn how to play it.
yeah.
When's the last time you sat down and learned how to play a game without watching a video on it first?
Yeah, I can't really think right off the top of my head about that.
Yeah, the Great Battle series, as far as I know, do not have an example of play. And we're talking about reasons we had problems learning war games and why. And we're going to see if we can fix some of these problems, maybe, or come up with some suggestions on things that game manufacturers could do to make it easier for us to do. Give us a way to learn your game. The more people that know the game, the easier it is to put it online, to have other people play the game and show you it off, right? I mean, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
The rule booklets, we know we've already talked about this, but we've already determined that wargaming is the hardest of all of the different kinds of games out there because there's the most
going on.
The most rules, the most pieces, the most things that you have to learn about going forward. And so war game manufacturers should know this, and they should change or they should try to make it easier for people to want to not have as much difficulty. Like,
yeah,
if let's just say you own GMT, like if you own GMT and you were producing war games, and I came to you and I said, Phoenix, do you realize it's hard for me to learn all your games? And it's taking me twice as long as other games out there. Wouldn't you want to change what you're doing to make it easier for your customers? I mean,
I know my first question out of my mouth would be, okay, you're having problems learning the game. What can we do to make it better? And I think that comes from a lot from working for the company I have for as long as I have, where we've got such a heavy focus on customer service. I hear some of these customer service stories, and I think to myself, the president of our company would never let that fly. But
yep. Christopher, Gimpy Gamer was a boot camp on Nations at War. He explained everything and made it much easier to learn. And it's because Lock and Load paid Gimpy to do that. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. Excuse me. I think more game companies should do that with Gimpy or whoever.
That's kind of why I've started doing this is not war game related, but with my sports replays, at least, I've started getting into the habit of doing a demo game before every replay that I go into, because it lets people who might be new to the game see how the game works. It helps me scrape off rust with the game. And it's kind of good all around to go through, again, knock off the rust with the game in question, make sure you got everything straight, and just let everybody see how it plays.
This is a great comment by Eames. Fields of Fire was the first and only game in which I nearly gave up. video playthroughs help me not to bail out on it. So that is perfect example of what we're talking about. If it wasn't for a few YouTubers or some videos out there, he would have given up. And I started my YouTube channel mostly because I was doing ASL videos, because at the time there was no ASL videos out there. And I was like, if I'm having problems learning this game, there's got to be thousands of other people just like me out there. And maybe I can show them a few things. And that's how basically I started my YouTube channel back in the day. Because it was just like, I'm trying to learn ASL and I couldn't do it online because there was no videos.
Yeah.
I think wargaming in general is just more complex. It's got more things going on to it. And because of that, and that's good because there are more pieces, more things to think about, more strategies, which is great. But you have to give your people more than just normal to help them get over the hump of learning how to play the game then.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the chat and just seeing if there's any. So let's talk about things we could do to make things better for us, as we just talked about. Number one, like if game companies would hire people to make tutorial videos, that could be a great resource for everyone to, just even a couple videos, like just, kind of like an intro. Here's how everything moves around. Have you ever watched, there's a guy by the name of called Ben Harsh, and he does Harsh Rules. I think it's called Harsh Rules, where he sits down and goes over everything step by step and talks about all the units and everything. And I think that needs to be done for like more games. Like there needs to be more of a sit down and, okay, here's the pieces. This is what all the pieces do. This is how the pieces move. This is how the pieces interact and stuff like that. More tutorial videos. What else can we do, Phoenix, to make things easier for you with the rule booklet? What could they do with the rule booklet to make things easier?
One thing Fantasy Flight does that I really like in their games is they actually have a learn to play example. They actually have learn to play in there where you can where it'll walk you through like the first, maybe it'll walk you through how a turn actually works to the point where you can actually even play along with it to help you learn the game. I know Twilight Inscription does that. I know there's one for Arkham Horror, the card game. I can't remember if there's one for Marvel Champions off the top of my head. I think there might have been one for Lord of the Rings, the card game, but I'd swear to that even less than I would to Marvel Champions. So and again, similar to the extended example of play, if they put that learn to play booklet in there, you'd probably have people a lot happier. And of course, just also proofread and go through your rule book with a fine-tooth comb.
Keep going. I'm gonna see if I can look up something real quick. I was going to show off like one of their products here.
Well, and I think that's going to be, I think you're going to run into that anyway, Stuka, with the rules videos being too dry. I think there are ways you can mix the rules in there as well. And that's part of what I try to do with my demo games and my sports replays is I'll play through it slowly, so that I'll play through the game slowly so you can see how the rules work. But then once we've had a few plays of, at least in the sports games, then I start to pick up the tempo a little bit more so you can actually see how everything plays at tempo.
And just to go on what Phoenix was saying, I'm going to share my screen real quick here. And so like this is a Fantasy Flight here. Like if I'm like trying to learn how to play Game of Thrones, I can go and click on tutorial, and they have a tutorial video that I can sit down and They make it entertaining. They show you what's going on.
And of course, they've got all the marketing in there naturally, just kind of making it as flashy as possible. But they've also got professional YouTubers, professional graphic artists, and whatever that you've got in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's it's just an example of what we're talking about. Am I saying that like fantasy or like GMT should create a video and everyone in their games know? That's not what we're saying here at all. That's
That's
not
not.
what we're
That's
saying
not.
here at all.
That's just not
Okay.
feasible to do.
Yeah, we understand that's not feasible. We're not trying to say that they should be Fantasy Flight. That's not. People don't get us wrong. That's not what we're saying. Okay, what we're saying is if they were to create things like this, it would make things easier for us to do. If they can't do things like this, great. We understand that, but maybe they could have someone else, a YouTuber like Phoenix or Russ Swordsman or whoever. Stuka Joe and even have someone out there sit down and create a couple like an intro video or again Ben Harsh does a great tutorial series. There's lots of people out there that'll do it. And they'll mostly sure I'm sure like I'm sure there's a cost. Like, okay, well, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to do this. And yes, I understand there's a cost. Okay. But you could do it on like, hey, okay, Jester, listen, we see you've ordered this game. Like, we're willing to ship it to you for free if you do like a couple tutorial videos. Like, I'm sure there's other people out there that'd be like, okay, cool, I'll do a couple videos for a free game. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, sure, Fantasy Flight probably paid thousands of dollars to have some professional studio make that video, and that's not what we're saying they should do. Like, they could give a free game to somebody to create a couple videos. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Watching a video of a game before reading rules is relate to what you saw in the video when you read the rules. Yes, that's a great point as well. Good point, Stuka. Like, if you watch a video and it shows you some things, then when you read the rules, you go, oh, okay, I see what this is. Oh, cool. Right, now I understand. What else? Is there anything else that you could think of that, like, the other thing I could think of is the rule booklet. We've talked a little bit about the rule booklets, but I know, like, if I was to like play a Bell of Treason, if I can get the box lid open now,
that would be moderately helpful to be able to play the game.
One of these days, I will get it open. I will say,
there you go,
to give GMT full credit and full props with this. They actually have a rules of play booklet, which is, the rules to play.
Yep.
But then there is a playbook that will actually sit down and show you, okay, like here's an example. Here's a solo example of play. Now, this is great. A solo example of play. But you see the problem. Like, do you see the problem already?
Hardly any pictures to speak of.
This is a block of text.
I see eyes glazing over when people start trying to read through that.
Exactly. Like, people are going to like sit down to read this, and after 2 minutes, they're going to be like, you have to make it more interactive than this. I appreciate that this is there. I love that this is there. Don't get me wrong, but God, you've got to make it easier for people. Like, a block of text is not easier. It's just not. People are not going to want to sit down and read that. They want to see it in action. And if that makes your rule booklet twice as long, then make your rule booklet twice as long, but it'll make it so much easier.
And all a block of text is going to do is put people to sleep.
Exactly. Exactly. Nobody wants to read a block of text. It's it, we're just trying to help out. We're just trying to help out game manufacturers, designers. Please, for the love of God, this is not you're listening. We're just trying to help you out. Like we're just giving you the honest opinion, right? We're not trying to pick on anyone or say anything negative. We're trying to come up with a resolution. We're trying to give people help. Like
Mhm.
GMT, if Gene from GMT ever watches this, what he should take away is they're doing a good job, but you need to take it to the next step. Like you've got to seriously make things easier for people to understand how to play. And this is literally okay. This game, like this game is going to be my bugaboo. Like this game is going to be my bugaboo with GMT because you can see this is a complexity of 2 out of 10. So this is one of the easiest war games, and I'm going to call this a war game, even though it's not really a war game. It's basically it's Twilight Struggle super light. Twilight Struggle super light. You're putting pieces, little cubes on, and you're taking cubes off. That's all you're doing. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're playing cards to put cubes on the board. And so this is literally a 2 out of 10. And if I have trouble playing a 2 out of 9 complexity game, how does that look for wargaming?
Yeah.
We all have to scratch our head and say we're not doing something right if our easiest game is super hard for people to understand how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's so simple, like if it's so simple, then why is it so difficult for people to put it on the internet and show it off? Like if it's so
Right.
simple, then why isn't there videos of it if it's so simple? Like you would think there'd be a whole bunch of people out there. And again, I'm not picking on I love this game, The Bell of Reasons. Okay. I'm not trying to pick on GMT or say anything negative. I'm just saying we're trying to come up with solutions and trying to help out what we can do going forward.
Yeah.
I think better examples in the rule booklets, more pictures, less words, more
Mhm.
pictures, less words. If you look at a Euro game, you're going to see pictures. That's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
I'm going to randomly grab a Euro game off the shelf here.
Hopefully it's not going to kill you in the process.
It might. I'm just going to randomly grab a game. It's going to be called City Skylines, the board game. All right. And we're just going to look at the rule booklet and compare. Stop.
I already see more pictures.
There is pictures. There's explanation of every one of the units highlighted there. Look at this. This is, and I talked about this earlier, and I'm just trying to show you guys I'm not full of shit. Like this is the opening page that shows you every single object that's in the box and what it is and what it does. Like this is like I can see in a glance now. Like we talked about this earlier, why everyone loves to set things up on the table because you get to see all the pieces and all the parts. Like in a Euro game, like this is like page 1. It shows you what it looks like as it's set up and what all the pieces are.
And I'm pretty sure that's already more pictures than you'll see in a wargame rule book.
Exactly. And again, this is just a random, like this is, just plenty of pictures. Every time they talk about something, there's a picture of what it looks like. This is the, and examples, like example. Thanks to the neighborhood medical clinic already in place, you can utilize the healthcare service. To do that, the residential zone has to be at least 1 square bordering the medical center. And it shows you exactly what they're talking about in a picture. I'm just saying, if war games, which we've already determined is more complex and more difficult than normal gaming, they have to have better rule booklets to make it easier for us to understand.
Yep.
And and um this is just, this is not me like trying to prove a point. I just randomly got a game off the shelf. Like this is all Euro games. I would say 99% of the Euro games, like all the rule booklets are the same. Now I'm not saying that Euro gaming rule booklets are great. Like there are still some problems with Euro, but they're better than wargaming is what I'm saying.
Well, there's probably also less going on in Euro games than there is in wargaming. So,
yes, Robert, we've already talked. We've already said Euro games are much easier and less complex than wargaming. That's what we said. And because wargaming is more complex, wargaming, there's more things going on. There's more, what did you call pieces? There's more moving parts in wargaming. Because of those reasons, like we were saying, because of those reasons, wargaming needs to do a better job of making it so that we don't have trouble learning their games. Again, I'm trying to learn this game because I would love to get this game to the channel and show it all for you guys. And like literally, I have to sit down now and try to go through step by step through the example of play, which again is a block of text, which makes me fall asleep after 10 minutes trying to learn this game. And it's just not conducive to me learning how to play their game. I would love to show it off for you guys. I would love to play this game. But I'm having trouble learning it, and I'm having trouble showing it off to you guys because of these reasons.
We're hopefully not going to get a sleeping jester when he tries to put it on the channel from having read that block of text.
Right. So I just think wargaming, let's be honest, wargaming in 2025 is 2 thumbs up. We all love it, right? That's why you're all here. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But it's certainly not a 10 out of 10. If wargaming was a 10 out of 10, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. We would just be sitting here twiddling our thumbs. Like it's not a 10 out of 10. And what we're saying is, what can we do to make wargaming better and easier in the future? Better and easier in the future for everyone out there.
Because we want to make sure that there's a hobby here for people to get into, to stick with, all of that.
Exactly. Well, that was 2 hours. Unbelievable. Flew by as normal. And it's basically a Euro game. Yeah, it's true. It is basically a Euro game. It's very simple, easy Euro game. I'm calling it a war game because it was made by a war game manufacturer, I guess is what I'm saying. The toughest game I've had to learn is The Last Gamble. I love the game, but damn, it is complicated. It is 9 different kinds of movement. There you go. That is a great point there. Like learning all those different kinds of movements. Like, Tim, how did you watch any videos? Was there not any videos? Did they highlight anything for you to make it easier? I'm just throwing suggestions out there.
9 different kinds of movement. I'd probably throw that game in the trash at that point. I guarantee my head would overload at
that. All right. So I will mention a couple things again quickly before we wrap this show up. First of all, if you're just joining us and you're wondering what's going on with this format, and you're not 100% in the know, Rough Swordsman and Nate Lantham have both decided this week to leave the show. And I wish them all the best. I wish them all the luck, and I hope they start a show of their own. And I will be fully supporting them. I still love those guys. We're just not a good team together, and so that leaves me by myself, at least at this point. So that's just the way things is going. We're going to try a new format going forward with the show, and we'll have lots of things to talk about and show off. And second of all, let's all thank Phoenix Knight for on his short notice and being willing to come on the show and experiment with me and try new things, and being here with me for the intro to the new show. And so thank you very much, Phoenix, for doing that for me. It means a lot to me, buddy. I know we've been friends for a while, and it's good to know that you have my back. So I appreciate that.
I'm glad to help where I can.
Absolutely. And third of all, there will be no show next week, not because I don't want to have a show next week. It's because I'm going to be in Indiana looking at my new grandson next Saturday. So there won't be a show next Saturday. And then when I come back in 2 weeks, I'm going to have probably a better idea of a format going forward and what we're going to do and where we're going to go. And it's probably going to stay the same time, 4:00 every Saturday. There is a chance I may go to an hour format because it'd be easier to find guests for an hour than it is for 2 hours. But it's a great time for you guys to let me know what you want. Would you like an hour show? Do you like a 2-hour show? Do you want somebody to be a constant co-host? Do you want to rotate it in? Do you want a certain subject talked about? Whatever. Now is your best chance to let me know what you're interested in. And I appreciate anyone's comments, both here and online on the Tack Up Facebook group. Phoenix, what's coming on your channel? What should we be looking for? I know with the holiday weekend, you're going to have a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, I am going to have a lot of stuff going on. I've actually got a game set up for a little bit later tonight, but I'm going to hold that close to the vest until I'm ready to go live with that. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day on the channel as well, as in the morning, I will be playing Machina Arcana by A Dream of Games. Then I'm going to have Pino with Phoenix for the end of the month. And
what time are you doing that tomorrow? Because I want to watch that.
Machina Arcana or Pino?
Yeah, Machina Arcana.
I'm probably going to be going at my normal morning time. So probably about, I will probably be starting by 8:30 Central Time at the latest. I probably will start earlier than that.
9:30 Eastern. Okay. All right.
Then Sunday afternoon, I've got Pino with Phoenix, which is my end of month recap show where we're going to be recapping Mythos month. And Monday, I'm starting the playoffs in my 2009-10 hockey season replay with a triple header. And then Wednesday, we're actually going to be playing a war game on the channel. Who knew? As we'll be playing Western Front Ace by Compass Games.
Nice. So I was given permission to show off the baby. There he is. No, it's not. Ethan William Peterson. There's my new grandson in all of his glory. Mwah! All right. Thank you. So hopefully my daughter won't know. Shh, don't tell anybody. There we go. We're fine. They won't know that I posted it. They'll be fine. They'll get over it. So thanks for stepping up, Phoenix. I agree, Jonathan. I agree totally. I appreciate everyone coming by today. Again, thoughts, comments, suggestions. The next couple of shows are going to be very haphazard as we try to work out the best format going forward and having, new segments and new look and a new everything going forward. Again, It's nothing personal between me and Ruff and Nate. I just think it's best that we all just separate and go our own ways. I wish those two the bestest of luck. I love these guys, and I would love to see them do their own show without me because they don't need me dragging them down. So I look forward to hopefully having these guys continue on. And again, if they're willing to come back and be part hosts, if they want to fill in every once in a while, and I would love to have them back. So everyone have a great week. Phoenix, thanks so much. Stick around. I want to just say goodbye to you on the green room. Everyone else, we'll see you in 2 weeks. No show next week. No show next week. 2 weeks. See everyone in 2 weeks.